If you want to have a seat, we're going to get started. We apologize for being 10 minutes late, but blame it on the city council, right? They had the room before us. On behalf of our HYPE, our local young professionals group, I'd like to welcome you to the Candidate and Issues Forum for the August primary. My name is Ken Hussey. I'm a member of that group. We're excited to offer this to the community. Our young professionals group values informing the citizens about not only the candidates but the issues that are on the ballot as well. We've got some contested races and some important issues to consider in August. And we know that August is traditionally a low voter turnout time of year, right? But we're hoping to make sure that people get out and vote next Tuesday. If they can't be there next Tuesday, make sure they vote absentee at the courthouse, which they can do already. Fairly simple format tonight. Frank Newell will be our moderator again. We'll hear from the candidates. They'll offer some remarks, take some questions from Frank, which they'll answer, and then we'll get a chance to hear from the supporters of the various issues. We've asked the candidates and the representatives of those issues to stick around after the event to take any questions that you might have personally. So if you have an interest and want some follow-up, please do so. A lot of them have brought literature that they've put outside the room on the table, so feel free to take that literature, read it, share with your friends, and learn more about the candidates. But once again, on behalf of the Young Professionals Group, I would be remiss if I didn't thank Stephanie Bell, our Government Relations Chair, for her hard work to put this together, and Angie Bauer from the Chamber as well to help coordinate this event. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Frank, and we're going to learn tonight, right? You ready, Frank?
Hope so. I hope so. Thanks, Ken. We'll begin, as Ken mentioned, with the candidates for the Western District County Commission, and we'll go in the order that they appear on the ballot. I will introduce each candidate, and then they will have individually 2 minutes to introduce themselves and tell you a little about themselves. We will begin that process with the incumbent, Chris Wrigley.
Good evening. My name is Chris Wrigley. I live at 321 Troy Street, which is outside the city of Jefferson. It's off of Henwick by the Gun Club. Married to Cindy Allen. We have 4 children. We've lived out at the present location for right at 16 years. Been on the Cole County Commission for 8 years as Western District Commissioner. Prior to that, I served in this chamber for 4 years as the city councilman from the 3rd Ward, which is West School, Hazleton, Bel Air, Sioux Drive area, Shawn, Shell Ridge, and the Mall. Prior to that, Cindy and I lived in Centertown. Right after we got married, we bought a house out there, served on the Centertown Board of Trustees for 3.5 years. I was mayor for 2 years in Centertown. One of the strengths that I bring to the job, I think, is my political experience from being in a small municipal community, having to deal with issues when you don't have money to face them. Centertown was 307 people when we moved there. All 3 children were born there, so it moved from 307 to 312 in a matter of 3 years, 4 years. My experience here at City Hall, I was chairman of the Finance Committee. The year that I was chairman, we had a balanced budget. The budget at the County Commission has always been balanced. We go to Methodist Church here in town, and I'm active in Boy Scouts, the Lions Club, and Westside Business Association.
Thank you, Chris. I should also mention that we do have a timer standing by. She has a couple of paddles that she'll hold up to warn the candidates when they're running low on time, and she's also been known to threaten to use those paddles, if necessary, to enforce the time rule. We'll continue on with the one of our challengers for the position of Western District County Commissioner. That would be Chris Shepperly.
Hi, I'm Chris Shepperly, and I want to be your Republican candidate for Western District Commissioner of Cole County. County is going to face many challenges in the next several years, and I believe that I can help. For those of you who don't know me, I own and operate All Seasons Landscaping, Jefferson City Compost Facility, and have been in business for over 13 years and have 7 employees. I am married to my wife Jennifer of 10 years. She's a teacher at Trinity Lutheran School, teaches 4th grade, and we have 4 children, ages 4 to 9. I was born and raised here in western Cole County and we will continue to live here for the rest of our lives. I want this to be a great place to work and raise families. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And next, another challenger, Kevin Kelly.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Kelly, and I'd like to be the Western Cole County Commissioner. My wife and I moved here in 1984, and we have 3 children that we raised here, and it's turned out to be a really wonderful place to raise children. I want to be the commissioner because I feel my engineering background could really enhance the commission. I am a licensed professional engineer here in the state of Missouri, and I have got my Bachelor's of Science degree in Civil Engineering and a Master's of Science degree in Civil Engineering. I worked over 30 years with the Federal Highway Administration with county commissioners throughout the state and with all levels of government, city, state, county governments, and other federal agencies. And I feel that that experience and my knowledge background would really enhance the county commission. Thank you.
Well, normally I would go and ask Chris Wrigley the next question. Oh, there you are. I lost you.
That's a hard thing to do.
I thought you'd left the room there for a moment, but only slid behind the other. The candidates all received these questions, or the question that I'm going to ask them, in advance, and this is the question that was posed to them. What are the top 3 issues facing your constituency, and how in your elected office will you address each of these issues? And each candidate will have 5 minutes to respond. We'll begin with Chris.
Obviously, the economy is in front of us all. 8 years ago, when I was elected county commissioner, nobody would imagine that we would have hit the skids as we have with the economy. We need to work together, both the city, the county, the municipalities, the state, in trying to revive our economy, bring more business in, keep the business that's here, expand jobs, encourage people to create businesses here in Jefferson City. The good thing about Jefferson City is we're a government town. The bad thing about Jefferson City is we're a government town. And when the government starts suffering, then the whole community will suffer shortly thereafter. And that's a peculiar situation for our community, not only Jefferson City, but Russellville, Lowman, Hartsburg, Holt Summit, Fulton. We're all affected by the state cutoffs and cutbacks. And we need to work together to turn that around, encourage the state to bring more people back on the job. Along those same lines, the state moved the prison away from what we now call the MSP development and moved it out toward the east side of the city and the county. And there sits the biggest opportunity that our county has, is the MSP development. The city and the county have cooperated in some projects toward the effort of redeveloping the old prison sites, the Lafayette Corridor, the Lafayette Bridge, the new federal courthouses out there, and we need to continue to push on the redevelopment. Many people ask me, why are we so committed to the MSP redevelopment at the county? They say that's a city issue. No, it's not. It's everybody's issue. If we can get that developed, it's our best shot at improving our economy and our community. We'll get more jobs out of the construction, we'll get more jobs out of the redevelopment, we'll get more jobs and businesses to locate here, whether it's the state expanding over there, which they've talked about from time to time, or if it's just the hotel, the grand master plan that's been in effect for the past 9 years. We need to move forward. The unfortunate part of it is we're kind of stuck in a quagmire with the state, the county, the city, of who is going to do what, and more importantly, who is going to do what with the land. The state needs to get off of the center of, we're not going to deed or lease the property to the city, because that is really stopping a lot of the development. People will not invest in the area without understanding that somebody has a lease, that once they build the properties on there, they'll be protected. The third thing is the county, as well as all the little municipalities, and especially Jefferson City, are faced with street infrastructure needs that are beyond our capacity to deal with. EPA has come about with a Phase 2 stormwater that used to only be in effect for Jefferson City. It's also now out in the unincorporated areas of the county, and we're faced with dealing with that. We're dealing with streets that we brought into the county 20 years ago by developers that are slowly starting to degrade, and we have to repair those, and we have to find a way to fund that. And these are things that are going to affect planned growth out into the county. The county is now looking at zoning. Part of the reason for looking at zoning is we want to have organized growth in the county, and it goes back to the infrastructure issue. If transportation comes, then economic development comes. When you make repairs to the infrastructure, the economy will come right behind it and develop it. So it's kind of all tied together, and the county needs to work on zoning, and that's going to come about in probably the next 6-7 months.
I'll ask the same question of Chris Shepperly. What are the top 3 issues facing your constituency, and how, in your elected office, will you address each of these issues?
I think the top 3 issues facing the commission are the budget, transparency of government, and cooperation and communication with all municipalities. The Cole County budget is going to face many challenges in the next several years, and we cannot keep asking voters to support tax increases. We have to do better. We are very dependent on sales tax revenues, which are hard to predict, and with internet sales may be diminishing forms of revenue. We should be planning our budget out 2 or 3 years, not just year to year. The second thing is transparency of government. The citizens deserve to see what government is doing. I think the county commission could do a better job of making its meetings more open to citizens. How much citizen involvement do we have when meetings are scheduled while people are working? We need to have some evening meetings. We need to have some meetings out in the unincorporated areas of the county. We need to have our meetings put out on the internet. And we need to have several meetings in the evenings devoted to the budget process. The third thing is the cooperation and communication of all municipalities. The commission needs to work with our neighbors, our townships, and our cities and assist them as much as possible. We need to work together, pool resources, and find ways to be efficient and save money. With revenues in decline, we have to cooperate to get things done and to get more bang for our buck. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And to Kevin Kelly, what are the top 3 issues facing your constituency, and how, in your elected office, will you address each of these issues?
Well, one of the top issues I have, Chris Shepperly just addressed it. I also feel that the cities and the municipalities in the county need to work together. We're all residents of Cole County, and we should be good neighbors and help each other out where we can. As an engineer for the federal government, I always had to work with multiple agencies on projects, and I had to learn the priorities of those agencies and understand their priorities. And we always worked on to get a solution that satisfied everybody's needs. Not everybody was always completely satisfied, but most everybody was. And that's what, as a commissioner, that's what I would work to do with the cities and the municipalities. The other issue I think that's going to be facing us is the zoning. The county commission, or county, has started a planning process to look at zoning throughout the county. This would have a great impact on the people's use of their lands. We may not have county zoning because it's going to end up being a choice of the citizens of Cole County whether we have it or not. So as a commissioner, I would get heavily involved so that the development of any zoning rules or regulations would be well thought out and protect people's property rights. Inflation is also another issue that we're all facing in our personal lives, and the county is too. We're dealing with it all the time. And I believe that, like myself, the county and any other government needs to live within their means. And as a county commissioner, I would do everything to see that we were only spending money on necessary items and not raise any taxes. Thank you.
And now each candidate will have 1 minute each for closing remarks. We'll begin again with Mr. Wrigley.
I appreciate you all watching on TV, being here in person, listening to this over the internet when it's streamed. I think my past experience with the city of Centertown, the city of Jefferson, and the 8 years on the county commission gives me the most experience of everybody here tonight to perform the job of the county commissioner. Over the 8 years that I was county commissioner, we've had a balanced budget every year. Our budget process is probably as transparent as any. We have required hearings. All of our meetings are open. All of our meetings are posted. The public has been there, is there. We've worked very hard to get the public involved in the budgetary process. During the 8 years I've been on the commission, we have, through the half-cent capital sales improvement tax, given the cities $100,000 over 5 years as a cooperative measure for their road improvements. We do cooperate with all the municipalities. With Jefferson City, we currently have 4 projects right now with the city of Jefferson City on a cooperative pay basis. In closing, I appreciate your vote on August the 7th. I think I'm the best candidate. I think I've done a very good job as being a financial steward of your tax dollars.
And Mr. Shepperly, you have 1 minute, please.
We live in a beautiful county, home of the state capital, and we need to have transparent government with responsible spending and cooperation. I have run a business, and I can use that experience to make government more efficient and to help keep taxes low. It's time for new people to step forward and lead. We can't keep doing the same things and expect different results. Let's continue to make this county great, and I'd appreciate your vote on August 7th. Thank you.
And Mr. Kelly, you have 1 minute for your closing remarks.
Well, Jefferson City and Cole County have been very good to my family. The community is a great place to raise kids, and it's time for me to use my experience and qualifications to pay back the community, and I feel this is a great way to do it, would be to bring my expertise to the Cole County Commission, and I would appreciate your vote on August 17th, or August 7th. I'm getting way ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now we'll use basically the same format as we introduce you to the candidates for Circuit Judge of Circuit 19, Division 1. I will introduce each candidate, and then each will individually have 2 minutes to introduce themselves to you. And we'll begin in the order on the ballot with Judge John Beetem.
Thank you.
Next, the challenger, Steve Kretzer.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to you and introduce myself. I am Stephen Kretzer, running for Circuit Judge on August 6th. By way of a little background, I've been a prosecutor now for about 6 years. I worked in private practice for about 3 years, and I worked for the state of Missouri for about a year, kind of in between as a buffer between private practice and prosecution. When I was in private practice, I worked in family law, did some guardian ad litem work. I did some general practice working on wills, some estate planning, did some appellate work, got to argue before the Western District Court of Appeals, and did a little bit of criminal defense work, but not very much. After private practice, I got to work with the Department of Social Services representing the Children's Division in abuse and neglect cases, and I was assigned to 17 counties in the south central part of the state. And I got to experience a lot of different judges during that time, and I got to see things that worked really well and things that I didn't think worked so well. After working for the Children's Division, I was given the opportunity to become a prosecutor when Mark Richardson was elected and took office in 2007. And I went to work for him trying cases from everywhere from misdemeanor traffic offenses all the way up to attempted murder cases. 2.5 years ago, I was recruited to help out in Camden County after one of their judges passed away and an assistant prosecutor was appointed to the bench down there. And they really kind of appealed to me because some of the things that they were doing with courtroom technology. I've moved down here to Cole County in 2004. I was an Air Force brat growing up, and I have a lot of respect for the service that my father did for our country, and didn't give me the opportunity to grow up in Jeff City, but it gave me the opportunity to experience lots of different cultures and locations and help me decide what it was that I was looking for in a home. And Cole County fit that bill. So in 2004, I made Cole County my home, lived down here. My wife, Stacy, and I have been married a little over a year. We're expecting our first child, and we're looking forward to serving in my role as Circuit Judge if elected on August 7th.
Thank you, Stephen. And now, in slightly different language, but very close to what we asked the other candidates, what are the top 3 issues facing a Circuit Judge in Cole County, and how do you plan to address each of these issues, Judge Beetem?
Well, as I prepared for
Mr. Kretzer, you have an equal 5 minutes.
Thank you. When I graduated high school, I graduated valedictorian, and the speech that I gave was the 4 F's that got me through high school. And then I talked about faith, family, friends, and faculty. I kind of decided to go with a similar topic today, kind of the 3 T's of that are important topics that we need to address at the circuit court level, and things that I would look into doing if elected circuit judge. And those 3 T's are technology, timeliness, and transparency, something I think Mr. Shepperly referred a little bit to. And I'll go through each of those individually. First of all, technology. One of the things that really appealed to me when I went down to Camden County was some of the things that they were doing with courtroom technology. These were not expensive fixes. These were not things that the community had to come in and pay for. These were things that the judges were working with the prosecutor's office and other offices that they worked with to create solutions. They were engaged in active problem solving. That's another thing that appeals to me in becoming a circuit judge, is solving problems. And that's something that judges can do when they're working with the other agencies that work in front of them. Some of the examples that they've been using as far as courtroom technology, Judge Beetem actually referred to some of them, scanning documents to cut down on photocopying expenses. And some of those expenses can then be reallocated to other forms of technology. And one of the things that I've emphasized when I've been going door to door and talking to people is that we have these tools available to us. It's time to use them. The fact that the judges are using outdated Word documents and things like that are things that must be addressed, and those are important topics because they affect the everyday practice, the everyday situation of what's going on in the courthouse. And that kind of leads right directly into my second point with regard to timeliness. When people are in court, they're there because there's a problem. There's a dispute to issues. Again, that gets back to the problem-solving aspect, the mediation aspect that sometimes judges have to engage in. But it's ultimately very important that they get a decision that is timely. Now, Cole County has done a great job over the years of meeting time standards. These are standards that are set up kind of statewide that are goals for people to set when they're engaged in criminal or court actions, and they set these time standards. Now, a lot of that gets up to the very end. They wait till the end, and there's a timing issue. Now, when you're dealing with cases that are involving children, the lives of families, you can't base that based on a time standard. You need to make a decision based on the timeliness and the timing of the issue. You can't wait 9 months for a decision on a child custody case, because those are obviously situations where there are children involved, and things change rapidly when kids are involved. And that's something that I certainly learned when I was working as a guardian ad litem, when I represented the Children's Division, representing the Department of Social Services and taking part in juvenile court. So timeliness is very important as a circuit judge to be attuned to and to be sensitive to. Finally, transparency. That's another thing that was kind of eye-opening as I went door to door this summer and talking to the citizens of Cole County, was how many people that I talked to that didn't have an idea what it was that our circuit judges did. A lot of them didn't even know who our circuit judges were, and even more of them didn't even know that there was an election where there was a contested circuit judges race. So that's something that's become very important to me during the campaign, to emphasize the transparency. And one of the examples that I kind of look up to is former Supreme Court Justice Wolf, who would on a regular basis write articles for local publications and talk about things that were affecting the judiciary. Now, there are limitations to what judges can do. They can't necessarily talk about cases they're involved in or decisions that they would make under certain fact scenarios, but they can absolutely talk about and educate the public about what's going on in the judiciary. I'm very involved with community theater. Some of you have seen me up on stage with Little Theater, Capital City Players, Scene 1. I play trumpet with Capital Kicks with my orchestra at Concord Baptist Church. And these are kind of community activities that as a judge, that's part of the canon of ethics, that part of the things that judges are encouraged to do. And so that transparency that results from that community involvement is something that will be very important to me if elected on August 7th. So we've got technology, timeliness, and transparency. These are things that I will tackle if elected circuit judge next week. Thank you.
And then for the 1-minute closing remarks, Judge Beetem. Thank you. And Mr. Kretzer?
Thank you, sir. Another thing I've run into as I've gone door to door this summer is you look too young to be a judge. And I've assured people that with my experience and my age that I do meet the qualifications to be a circuit judge. However, the other thing that I've also emphasized to people is the fact that I don't know everything, and I don't pretend to know everything. And there has to be a trust. There has to be this kind of symbiotic relationship between a judge and the people that appear in front of them. It's a learning process for all parties that are involved. And that is something that I'm open-minded enough to take that on and to understand that going into it. And so I'm asking for your vote on August 7th because I think I'll have the flexibility, the energy, and the enthusiasm to make an excellent circuit judge for Cole County. Thank you again for this time and opportunity.
Through all of this, the supporters for the two issues that are on the ballot have been patiently waiting their turn, and now it has come. We'll give each of them 6 minutes to talk about their proposition that is on the ballot. The first of those would be Lyle Rosburg, who is here to talk about the tax increase requested by the Missouri River Regional Library.
Thank you very much for hosting. The library is a vital part of our community. The library is more than just a facility on Adams Street or the branch in Lynn. It's a great resource for materials and activities. Some of the more popular activities within the library, the computer center, where we think everybody has internet access. That's not the case. And many times if someone becomes unemployed, that might be the first place they cut. But when they come to research at the library to look for jobs and many times only be able to apply for jobs online, the library is there to help them. The teen zone is something when we remodeled a few years ago that was able to expand to allow younger people a place to go after school in a semi-supervised environment. Very, very important to that segment of the population, and it's very, very well used. Reading Buddies is a great program where the teens let the younger kids read to them. It builds great confidence among the younger kids, and at the same time, the older ones learn what it means to give back to the community and to be a role model. Meeting the author. Lots of people have put in a lot of work writing books, doing research, etc. It's a great way to learn. Just like we're learning about new things tonight, the library offers that opportunity. And computer training. The library has a mobile computer lab that allows them to set up to train people to use the internet, to use their e-readers, businesses can even come in and take that time to learn off of the computer system that they wouldn't have necessarily with their own business or a place to operate that. 52% of Cole and Osage County residents have library cards. Last year we had 341,000 visits to the library, and we checked out 712,000 items out of the library system. The Bookmobile, which is kind of a large RV that goes out to lots of different places throughout Cole and Osage County, had 12,800 visitors last year. That's a good-sized town in Cole County, in Osage County. Yes, things are changing with the library, but we are always going to read. Maybe someday we'll be reading Chinese, but we're definitely going to be reading. So we're going to read, and we're going to have it in various different forms. Some formats are going to be paper, some are going to be books, some are going to be newspapers, some are going to be electronic. And the library has been changing with those times over many, many years. Flashback to what we had in 1964. Like Mr. Kretzer and myself, we weren't even born at that time. But in 1964, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have smartphones. We didn't have computers in our homes. We sent a man to the moon in a slide rule in 1969. We didn't have air conditioning in a lot of cars, and we didn't have air conditioning in all our houses. But in 1964, the library passed its last tax levy, 1964 for Cole and 1966 for Osage. And the library's been able to keep up with those times using that same basic framework. Now, I'm not saying that property taxes haven't increased because property has expanded in the community. We had inflation, et cetera. So we're not still operating on the same dollars. But overall, with all the changes in the last 48 years, the library's been able to maintain that within that same framework. But now times, just like at your home, times are getting tougher. The library has cut back on staff. We've reduced staff. There's been no raises. We've reduced the programs. The materials are back to the 2007 budget. Fuel cost, health insurance cost, and delayed many repairs to make our budget. Again, balanced every year and good planning. Now the library is asking for a 10-cent increase on its current 20-cent levy. Currently, a $100,000 home pays $38 per year to the library. That's a bargain in itself. By adding 10 more cents, that would be $19 for a total of $57. Still a great bargain. For a $100,000 commercial business, it would go from $60 to $90. Yes, this levy is a 50% increase, and no one likes paying extra for taxes. No one likes to do that. But generally, the community likes to pay for things they feel they get good benefit and good service from. We're trying to plan ahead to avoid a crisis, but we do need to restore the HVAC system that's still 1974, the roof, the doors, the elevators, the restrooms, those type of things, and return our materials back to the 2007 level as we continue to plan for the future, because I really hate it when people are always in a crisis mode. Crisis just means you didn't plan ahead. The library's always planned ahead. The library's never been in debt. In 1974, the library paid cash for the building. When the library was renovated about 4 years ago, it was paid for in cash. When the bookmobile was replaced, it was paid for in cash. That's good, conservative German planning. We can't promise we won't come back for another 48 years, but we don't want to come back anytime soon, so hence we're asking for the 10-cent increase. This will help us to take care of those needed infrastructure areas, to expand the services to the rural areas. It relates to maybe a book in a box, which is kind of an ATM type item for books to be provided. The library is a social hub of activities. There's resource materials and accurate information at the library. Libraries have and will continue to change with the times. We want you to also look up some more material on our www.supportmrrl.org website. And we want you to vote yes on August 7th in both Cole and Osage counties on question A. Even if you don't, obviously I want you to vote A, and I want you to vote for the library, but you need to vote regardless. A lot of these people put a lot of hard work into this campaign, and they've researched a lot of issues and put forth a lot of effort. It would be disrespectful if you didn't spend some time looking over the issues and thinking about what needs to be taken care of. But obviously, we want you to vote for A, for the library. Thank you very much for hosting tonight.
Thank you. I should mention at this point that there isn't any organized, that's the key word, opposition to this question. Therefore, there are none speaking before us tonight.
We're hoping there's no opposition at all.
Well, but if you have questions that you'd like to address, we've asked all of the candidates and the supporters of these propositions to remain afterwards, after we conclude with our last report, and that would come from Scott Spencer, and he's here to talk about the fire department tax increase request.
Thank you for hosting us tonight. My name is Scott Spencer. I've been on the Jefferson City Fire Department since 1994. Born and raised here. It's a great opportunity to fulfill a profession, a childhood dream, and but with that, this proposal needs to address some deficiencies within our department, and that's kind of a gut-checking moment for us as a department and for me as a person on the fire department. We're a very proud profession, and we like to do whatever we need to do and whatever we're asked to do via 911 whenever people call in need or distress. But this proposal really addresses a lot of needs and deficiencies that we have with our fire department. That's not a proud thing to say, but it is an honest statement that I'm saying to you tonight. Proposition 2 is just basically a quarter-cent sales tax to fund the fire department improvement plan, and I'll read to you the actual ballot language. Shall the city of Jefferson reduce the property tax levied for the fireman's pension currently at 0.0961, approximately 17% of the city's total property tax, to 0.00, and in lieu thereof impose a sales tax of 1/4 of 1% for the purpose of providing revenues and improvements for the operation of the Jefferson City Fire Department for a period of January 1st, 2013 to December 31st, 2027. Now, a lot of these candidates have addressed the challenges that they face, and for us, it's no different. We're the capital city of the state, and without sounding like a politician, because I'm not one, but I think you have to have a balanced tax policy. And unfortunately, the fire department for many, many years has relied on property tax. Being the capital city of the state, there's a lot of city, state, county, government buildings that are not on the tax rolls. Churches, schools, a lot of nonprofits. Now, these are good things for our community, but they're not funding the necessities that the fire department needs today. We have a lot of FAQs that when we've been going door to door that I'd like to address tonight, just based on those conversations that we've been having on our door-to-door campaign. Number one is, why does the fire department respond in a fire truck to medical calls. The Jefferson City Fire Department has 5 fire stations, allowing medically trained fire department personnel to reach victims quickly, often before an ambulance arrives. JCFD personnel are trained as EMTs and carry all necessary equipment to start providing life-saving care immediately. In critical situations, our personnel drive the ambulance and assist the 2-person ambulance crew with patient care during transport to the hospital. Responding from the onset with a fire truck and all the equipment allows us and our personnel to be ready for that next emergency immediately. So it's more effective, more efficient that we respond that way. We don't have the extra personnel currently to allow 1 or 2 people to respond to those medical calls. Again, if it's a heart attack, stroke, it takes 5 to 6 people to do a lot of different things simultaneously. What type of medical services do we provide? The Jefferson City Fire Department currently provides basic life support. EMTs provide life-saving techniques until an ambulance arrives. Again, the Fire Department Improvement Plan would provide funding to upgrade to ALS, Advanced Life Support Services, which utilizes paramedics on those fire trucks. 59% of our calls are medically related. So people like to say, let's run government services like a business. So if you're trending a certain direction, you need to be better trained and better equipped to be able to meet that demand. So 59% is a lot of calls that are related within that field. We feel that having paramedics on those trucks allow better services for our community. Now, how long will this quarter-cent sales tax last? 15 years. At that time, the voters will have an opportunity to vote on it again. Who oversees the Fire Department Improvement Plan if it's passed? A committee of council members elected by you, the voters, are responsible ensuring the financial transparency and evaluating the progress of the plan. And another question we get is, what is the ISO and how did Jefferson City last rate within the last audit? ISO is Insurance Service Office, and it is an independent organization that reviews fire departments nationwide and sets the local fire insurance rate. The 2012 audit stated that the Jefferson City Fire Department is currently 2 stations short and 2 fire companies short for today for adequate coverage within our city. You can go to our website, www.jcfirefighters.com, and there's an actually cost analysis breakdown that we have used with some data from the IRS and the citydata.com services. But it's broke down to basically where it's going to be a $4 cost average. And we think that's a good investment for our community, for people who come in our community, and for our current residents. And we're just asking for your support. And we would appreciate it that everyone gets out and vote August 7th so that your voice can be heard. And I really do appreciate your time tonight, and thank you very much.
Thanks to all of the candidates and those coming forth for the propositions on the ballot. This concludes our program tonight. Election Day is 1 week away. We hope that, as mentioned earlier, everyone will get out to vote. Thank you for coming tonight.
It's always nerve-wracking, isn't it?
Especially when you're not used to it.
Oh.